everybody. My name is Donna Thiesel, and I'm your host of Afternoon Drive on IC Radio and Christ Radio, or if you're hungry, it could be Ice Cream Radio. Your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television several different ways. Channel 182 on Charter Communications, which is in your neck of the woods out there in Marshall County in North Alabama, and then all over the world. You can find us on Abundant TV, which is found on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire. Australia has come in.
Awesome.
So it's a big, huge Christian network, and they have this big satellite. So they got in contact with Rob, who owns the station. And so Rob was just, Rob said, this is going to happen next week. And I'm going, yeah, sure. Because usually the technical world, it doesn't happen when you say, it actually happened quicker.
Yeah. Wow.
So we were tickled. So we're so proud to have all those outlets. And we've talked with a lot of folks about why you should move to Alabama and start a business. But now we're going to start talking to you about why you should move to Alabama and have a garden.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of opportunity.
Brian Brown is with us. By the way, he's with the Extension Office. And so let's talk with folks about what you do there. What's your role there?
Yeah, so I'm a regional extension agent, and I am on the home horticulture team. So we do anything to do with home horticulture, whether it be gardening, landscaping, or even home pest. We do home pest also. So if you have some bugs coming in your house, I can tell you how to get rid of those.
Well, you've helped us because you live in the country. We never had a rat until we got chickens.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the rats were attracted to the corn, and because you know this for a fact, our animals are fed very well.
Mm-hmm.
Even chickens and even bees. We make sure everybody's taken care of. And we happen to have been feeding some rats.
Yeah.
So you've helped us out with that situation, and it's I think there are probably a few stray ones, but it works.
They're hard to get rid of. I mean, they really are, but you just got to take care of them.
I'd rather handle a snake than a rat. There's just something about a rat that just
I don't like either one of them. So
me either. So don't bring me any, okay? But you've got several topics you want to talk about.
Yeah. So, here in Alabama, we've already had a freeze. So we had a really early freeze this time. I mean, it got, I remember one night, it was, I think it got down like 18 degrees in Arab. So it was really, really cold in Marshall County. I'm sure it was cold up here too.
It was very cold here. As a matter of fact, the banana trees, you can't get rid of them, by the way. If you ever plant a banana tree, they're there for life. And so woke up that next morning and the leaves were down.
Yep. Yeah. We actually, we learned about bananas the other day. That's for later, I guess. But we had a really, really cold, but there was a lot of plants that were still in the ground. And even some of the cold gardening plants, you still have to protect those. Even though they're cold tolerant, you still have to protect those. So that's kind of what I want to talk about is, what you can do. We're going to have another freeze. I mean, it's inevitable. We're going to have another freeze.
And 4 seasons in one day. We do that here.
We do today. So, that's... there's a lot of things you can do to protect your plants. And this is not just for your gardening plants. This is for your landscape plants. If you have a tender plant, especially when it comes to springtime, and you want to protect that plant, and let's say you've got something that's bloomed out, you want to try to protect it. It may not make it, but there's some things you can do to alleviate that freeze. So one of the things that's kind of, you would think it's wrong, but it's actually what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to water your plant.
Huh?
So when
Are you serious?
yes, so when it freezes, if you water your plant, that is one of the number one things you can do is to keep it from freezing, is to water your plant.
Wow.
So
you would think ice would accumulate.
So actually ice, I'm going to get a little scientific here on you, but the water has, when it freezes, it's an exothermic reaction. Okay. So what it does, as it freezes, it puts off heat because it can't take on heat or it'd be melting. So if it puts off heat, it's getting rid of that energy. So as long as you're watering it or it has water in it, it won't freeze as well. So that's like, you see on the news when they have a late freeze, especially down in Florida with strawberries and things. As long as you water and you keep watering continuously all night throughout that freeze until it gets above freezing again, it does form ice on the outside of it, and it's not an igloo. A lot of people think, oh, it's an igloo, it keeps it warm. That's not what happens. What happens is that ice is continuously freezing, and as long as that ice is freezing, it's putting off just enough heat to keep it from freezing the cells inside that plant.
Okay, that makes sense. That's
So-
why when it gets freezing, we like to leave the water running.
Yeah. Well, that's
Almost the same thing?
almost the same thing. I think that's a little bit different. That's just
Mhm.
to keep it flowing.
Uh-huh.
But with plants, it's an exothermic reaction. So as long as you have that water being applied to that plant, the cell walls of that plant never freezes.
Mhm.
So now there are some exceptions. You know, when it gets 15 degrees,
Mhm.
not a lot you can do in that situation.
We
Uh,
could have it here in
Especially if you have wind. Wind is
Mhm.
really, really bad. So
Alabama.
if you have wind, there's not a lot you can do. But if it's just, you're going to get down to 30, 29, maybe 28,
Mhm.
depending on what kind of plant it is, it's probably going to survive that.
Mhm.
So water your plants thoroughly is number one thing you can do. The second thing you want to do, especially if you have a garden, is you want to use row covers. So
Uh-huh.
it can be cloth material, like an old bed sheet is great. So go to the thrift store,
Mhm.
buy an old bed sheet. You can put that on there. The key to that is you're going to have to build it like a little tent and
Okay.
make sure that the cloth does not touch the plant.
Oh.
Because if it touches that
Key.
plant and it has some dew or something on there and it frosts on top of that, that little piece of ice can touch the plant and then it can just cause a chain reaction and
Yes.
freeze.
Mhm.
So make sure when you do row covers, make sure you keep it off your plant.
Could
Some
you
people,
use a netting kind of a thing as well?
well, it needs to be a solid cover.
Okay.
So they make actual row covers that
Mhm.
you can use, but a bed sheet will do just fine too.
I like that idea. Go
Yeah,
to the thrift
it's-
store, save money.
Yeah, so that's another thing you can do. You can also use things like a milk jug. A lot of people just take an old milk jug and
Uh-huh.
just, cut the top out and just put it over their plant.
Good
That's
idea.
totally fine too, especially if it's a smaller plant.
Mhm.
You can do that. But yeah, that's really how you protect the plants is, you can water continuously. So I know y'all had peach trees. So
Mhm.
if you have a late freeze on a peach tree, you can water it, with an impact sprinkler
Uh-huh.
and just keep it wet all night long.
Mhm.
It does waste a lot of water, but it keeps it from
Yeah, but
freezing.
it keeps my peaches good, and they're really good this time of the year when you got them when they've been dry.
Yeah. So
we need to make some fried apple and
I'm
peach
all for
pies.
that. Anytime you want to make them, I'll be here.
We'll do that next month.
So, but yeah, in the industrial or in the commercial setting,
Mhm.
what they do is they have these really tall windmills that are kind of pointed down
Mhm.
towards the crops. And what happens is you have what's called an inversion layer. And so there's warm air, warm air rises, right?
Mhm.
So there's a little bit of hot air up there. And when I say hot, it's still cold, but it's
Mhm.
warm air.
But warmer.
Yeah, it's warmer than what's on the ground because
Uh-huh.
cold air settles in
Yeah.
low spots, especially. So, what you want to do is you can actually turn a fan on and blow that warmer air. So they have these really tall, maybe 30, 40 foot tall fans that will blow air onto those plants and it to
Mhm.
keep it just enough above freezing to keep it from
Mhm.
freezing. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with frost protection. Again, on the commercial side, sometimes they'll hire helicopters to fly over, and then they stir that air up, and they just keep it stirred, and then that keeps that cold air that's in the low pockets, stirred up, and it doesn't freeze.
That's what my dad used to do. He used to be a soybean farmer,
Mhm.
a lot of acreage. And so there was a guy that would come out, he would hire to come out with an airplane or a helicopter or something, and he would spray water. He would do just all kinds of things.
Yeah. Sometimes it may have been for pesticides or something like that, but yeah, I do know they use
Or a drought.
helicopters. Yeah, or drought. So, and it goes to where you're going to plant your garden. It's really important to pay attention to where you plant your garden.
Mhm.
You don't want to plant it in a low spot. So, if you have a really low spot, that just really invites that cold air to settle
Oh,
down
that
in that
sounds-
low spot. So try to keep it at least on a hillside or on top of a hill
Mhm.
if you have a really hilly land that you want to
Mhm.
put your garden on. So,
Mhm. Okay, I've got to ask a question, and we've had a lot of rain lately. I
Mhm.
mean, lots of it.
Yep.
is it good to have this rain right now? Does that mean we're going to have better gardens or?
That's, it's one of those things where rain is always good. We like rain. Too much rain can be, which is interesting because when you have too much rain, if a plant's affected by that, too little rain and too much rain gives you the exact same symptoms because plants actually need oxygen to take up the nutrients. So if they're drowned and they're waterlogged, the plant can't breathe. It's just like us. When we get in the water, it will drown. And the reason why is because they need oxygen to take up those nutrients. And that's how hydroponics works. So if you know what hydroponics is? So, it's just growing in a soilless media. And that's the reason why that works, is because there's water constantly flowing over that, and they have oxygen, so it can.
So it's not stagnant. It's just sitting,
Correct.
With no movement.
Well, and there's actually some hydroponics that will, it's like in a little pool, but there's always water, or at least there's some oxygen being pumped in there, and it's just constantly stirring that water
I've
up.
seen that, and I've seen a lot where they're not using soil, and it's in usually some old warehouse that they've turned into one of those.
Yeah, I've seen some really cool operations. There's been some. There's a guy down below Birmingham. He does all hydroponic lettuce, and he's got these really long, maybe 60, 70, 80 foot long pools, and they're knee high, and he has styrofoam like you put up for insulation in your house, and there's little holes in that styrofoam, and that's what he grows the lettuce in. So he constantly pumps nutrients and oxygen into that water, and within just a few days, I mean, they're growing lettuce, big heads of lettuce in just a few days. So it's, it has all the nutrients there. It's perfectly balanced, and his operation was really cool because it had he was actually using fish to fertilize the plant.
I've seen that.
So it's really cool how they kind of work in that contained ecosystem there. So.
Well, and I kind of got a little touch of that. So I was watching a video, and it was about how we throw food away, not realizing it, like cabbage. You throw that little bottom part away. And so I saw a video that it's almost the same thing. So you'll cut that off, and you need to have a pretty big little size of that for it to work. And so I cut off the bottom of the cabbage, and I put it in water for about a week, and it started sprouting some little roots at the bottom. I got it planted outside, and there are about 5 little heads of cabbage that are coming up off of that one sprout.
Yep.
I don't know what I did to make it work. So what did I do you think, to make it work? What makes this thing work?
Once those roots start establishing, and some plants are more tolerant of others, but if you would have put like a bubbler, I guess you would call it, like you have in a fish tank, you would have probably seen better growth out of it. Because then you're introducing oxygen into the water, and then you'll see a lot more growth out of that.
I'm tickled. Any way I can turn something into more food, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk a little bit about, because we've been talking about cold weather, and so I have some lettuce outside. So I'm accidentally doing something to make that work. I don't know what I'm doing yet. They're in the blocks. You remember the block garden? Yeah. So I went on ahead and planted some of that into the block garden. And they're doing really well.
Yeah. It's probably because it's probably absorbing a little bit more heat, so it's keeping it a little bit warmer. It is a cool season crop, but they like it cool. They don't like it really, really cold.
Freezing.
Yeah. So, and they're tolerant to some of that stuff. So, they'll do good in those blocks. They should do good.
Oh, they are. Yeah. They're doing really. We've already had several salads off of these.
Good.
And so I'm tickled about that. But now so I've got 2 blocks high, and these are 12-inch blocks. And so what I do is I put a bunch of leaves and just brown stuff. Anything's brown out, I put that in the bottom one. Then I'm putting the soil on the second one up.
Okay.
And so they're just, I don't know, the roots are like that. I've never seen such roots before in lettuce.
Yeah, so probably what's happening is the water is trying to find water, and the water is probably settling down in the bottom of the block, and that's where it's actually trying to find it. I would recommend, rather than just putting raw stuff in there, I would make a compost pile and let that decompose,
Mm-hmm.
then you can, the more often you turn a compost pile, the faster it's
Mm-hmm.
going to degrade.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can do that and then put it in there, you'll have some really good quality soil.
Well, the last show you were on last month, we talked a little bit about composting.
Mm-hmm.
So let's dig a little bit more into that, because there are
Sure.
a lot of they have their backyard compost pile.
Mm-hmm.
So one guy sent a message that what he's done, he's just dug a hole.
Yeah.
In the ground, and he didn't want to put wood or anything else like that up, so he just dug a hole. And I think, from remembering it right, I think it was Jeff who sent this, and so he put a bunch of leaves and stuff like that in it. So he's just putting his. He wanted to know what the next step was.
Mm-hmm.
He's putting food on it, not meat products or anything like that. But he's putting like leftover banana peels or whatever.
Yes.
He's putting that in. So how often should he be turning that?
Once a month would be fine. I don't know the exact number on
I don't
that.
remember what he said.
It just
I think
really
he said
depends
like
on
I think he said 10 foot wide or something like that.
Yeah.
And 3 foot deep, I think is what he said.
Well, honestly, I think it'd be better to keep it above ground, just because if you're going to turn it and it's below the ground, you're going to have to dig down in there and
I
then
like
turn
the
it.
one with that feels
So
good.
if you can put it above ground, that way you can easily get to it and then turn it really easy.
The big old pitchfork does wonders.
Yeah, pitchfork's fine. If you got a really big pile, if you have a tractor, that'd be the easiest thing to do it with. But you really have to get that carbon to nitrogen ratio right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's 30-1. I'm definitely no expert when it comes to composting, but I think it's 30-1, and that is carbon to nitrogen ratio.
Mm-hmm.
So you get your browns and your greens. You got to get that balance right. And
is there a ratio to that though?
Yeah, it's 30-1. So I think that's the right ratio. But we have some really good information on our website on aces.edu. That's ACES.edu. And you just search in the search bar for compost, and it tells you exactly what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
But leaves, that's considered a brown. If you do grass clippings, that's a green.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, make sure you don't put any kind of meat product or anything greasy or things like that. So that will introduce rodents. You don't want that. You already been through the rat situation. You don't want any more of those.
No.
So yeah, just keep that. Eggshells are okay. Coffee grounds are fine. Any kind of fruit.
We could keep the world on coffee grounds. I'm telling you, we drink a lot of coffee around here.
So any kind of fruit, apples and pears and things like that, just throw it all in there and that'll be fine.
What about when people are pulling weeds? Should they put the weeds in there?
You can. What actually will happen is especially in the summertime when it gets really, really hot, it will get so hot that it will kill off.
Okay, that's what I was concerned with, because
Yeah.
we've not been putting weeds in it.
Yeah. It's pretty. You'll be fine as long as you're turning it and it's getting hot up in there. You should be fine.
And we do like newspaper, but I remember you saying this. He thinks I don't listen sometimes, but I do listen, Brad. So boxes and stuff like that. So we don't put anything that's got any kind of a outside coating or anything on it.
Absolutely correct. That's a lot of boxes have waxy coatings on them,
so we don't.
So you really have to be careful on that. There's some debate on the you ever heard of lasagna gardening?
Huh.
So I even hesitate to even mention it
because he knows I'm going to try it.
Well, the thing is, there's just two schools of thought on this, and I tend to lean on the side of don't do it. But there's plenty of people who do it every day, and if that works for you, then by all means, do it. I'm not here to tell you, you should or should not do it. If it works for you, do it.
I'm going to try it anyway.
What it is,
then I'll report to him.
Yeah. So what it is a lot of people who grow organic gardens, they will take boxes and flatten them out, and they will put it down on their garden, and then they make layers. So it's I think they use the term lasagna because it's layers of. So they'll put.
So where's cheese go?
So they put boxes down, and then they'll put leaves on top of that, and then they'll put another layer of boxes, and they just kind of layer it after layer after layer. They say that it prevents weeds, but in my opinion, especially on landscape plants, On a garden, that may be a little bit different, but on landscape plants, I definitely would not do it because those plants are established, and what it does is it prevents oxygen from getting into the root system. So if you make a thick layer of boxes or whatever it is, it can't breathe. And there's definitely been some research on this, and a lot of good quality research, and actually some anecdotal stuff out there, where we did a tour in Chicago where a guy who was doing with his trees. And so what they were doing is they were driving PVC pipes down into the soil that had holes all down the pipe. And what that did, they actually saw more root growth with that tree where there was a PVC pipe. And they were actually using that PVC pipe to stake the tree, to keep it from shifting in the wind and stuff when it was new and getting established. But what they found is there was more root growth because that tree was trying to get more oxygen. So if you cut off that supply of oxygen, that tree can't really grow as well. Now it may still grow, it just won't grow as well.
We're going to keep doing what you taught us last year, because I'm going to tell you what, I'm still eating fruit. I love it. Let's go ahead and cut to a commercial break. We're going to be right back in just a few minutes. Y'all hang in there, okay? The Hatter Cafe and Country Inn is nestled in the northeast corner of Alabama the Beautiful in the delightful town of Mentone. We're located on top of scenic Lookout Mountain near Little River and DeSoto State Park, and located only 5 minutes from shopping and restaurants. There is also a nearby community walking path and golf course. We welcome everyone through the doors, and we are committed to outstanding service for all guests. At the Hatter Cafe and Country Inn, we invite people from all walks of life to come and get away from it all, enjoy the open spaces, treetop views, fresh, clean air, and experience Southern hospitality at its finest. We look forward to hosting you. To reserve a special event, or if you would love a special getaway at the Country Inn, you can call us at 256-634-2018.
I'm Mike Lindell, and my employees and I want to thank each and every one of you for your continued support. With everything going on right now, your rest is so important. That's why we're having the biggest MyPillow sale ever. Not only are my bed pillows as low as $19.98, but you can get the best body pillows ever. Regular $89.98, now only $29.98. Take your rest on the go with our Roll and Go Anywhere MyPillows for only $14.98. And we have our new couch and accent pillows. They aren't just for looks. They have MyPillow's patented adjustable fill that gives you that amazing MyPillow comfort. In this economy, you get the best gifts ever for the best prices ever. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code and you get deep discounts on body, couch, bolster pillows, and so much more, including my original bed pillows for as low as $19.98. Please order now while quantities last.
Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales look forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Fort Payne and Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by the locations in Fort Payne and Gadsden. We sincerely look forward to serving you. We're about to make your life just a little bit easier. Join Tony and April at Tony's Pizza and Subs in Center and Cedar Bluff, Alabama. We're cooking up some hot, delicious pizzas, and we'd like to bake one for you. We are home-owned, not a chain, and our pizzas are fresh, homemade with our dough made fresh daily. We have a full menu including fresh, never frozen wings, salad bars, suds sandwiches, and much more. In Center, we have a private dining area for birthday parties, club meetings, and other events. We'll be waiting for you at 1820 East Bypass and Center and in Cedar Bluff, 3812 Alabama Highway 9. For your convenience, you can call in your order at our center location, 256-92 Pizza, or Cedar Bluff, 256-557-8651. And we enjoy making your life easier.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer.
Yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
Good afternoon. We are back. My name is Donna Feazell, and I'm your host of Afternoon Drive Home. Thank you so much for listening to us every day, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. Central. We get to ride home with you in the afternoon. One of my favorite guests is with us right now, Brian Brown. Brian, I have learned so much since I've just started hanging out with you.
Well, good. I'm glad you learned something.
I really have, because I'm going to tell you what. Phil had planted these fruit trees several years ago, and we had some fruit, but not really, it was just nothing to brag right home about. Since we've been doing exactly what you've been saying to do, and I mean, it's been all the difference in the world.
Well, good. I'm glad that somebody's getting some use out of my knowledge here.
Well,
So.
I don't know if I need to ask you on the line, because I'm not not necessarily a chef, but were you okay with the jam?
Oh, yeah.
I was going to be okay with it.
Yeah.
I didn't add too much sugar. I didn't have to.
Yeah. It's,
It was, I mean,
love
it's
any kind of
naturally
jam,
sweet.
so.
Oh, I do too.
I made some this summer myself. So
Mhm.
I made some strawberry jam myself. So
Best in the
I
world.
love it. Oh,
Whatever
yeah.
you can grow yourself,
Mhm.
it's just the best. And you don't have to worry about the supply chain either.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you're growing your own stuff.
Yeah, I picked them. I actually have a friend who he has a garden. Well, he has his business, and he's down in Auburn. He has a big patch and big strawberry patch, and I went and he's like, "Go pick all you want." So I did. I picked two big old, big bucketfuls of them, and it was all I could do to.
That's another way for a business.
Yeah.
If you wanted to go to farmers markets and have
Sure.
your goods and things like that. Now, I saw on the website where seniors can.
The voucher?
The voucher.
Yeah,
program.
so there is a voucher program for seniors. I forgot how much it is, but if you are a
Check that
senior, you can get a voucher through the state and use that at the farmers markets. I think it's, gosh, I hate to even say how much it is, but all you got to do is just apply
Go
for
check
it,
out. It's one.
and you get some money to use it at your local farmers market.
And you're helping yourself, and you're also helping a local farmer.
Yep.
And I'm gonna tell you what, I think farmers are the smartest people on earth. They
They
are.
are. They're really smart folks, and a lot of them have been doing it for their whole lives, and they may not know the scientific term of it, but they really know how to do it.
Experience.
Oh
They
yeah,
got
just
going
experience,
on.
and I might could explain it scientifically, but they just know how
They
to do
just
it.
do it.
They just do
say-
it. So
The biggest thing I got, we bought the farm my grandparents lived on, and my granddad bought this in 1938, I think it was. $5,000 back then. I wish I could buy
Wow.
it. Could have bought it for $5,000.
Oh, yeah.
I bought my inheritance, by the way.
yeah.
But I remember him planting tomato plants, and I thought he was killing them.
Mhm.
And we grew up in Oxford. We would come here and spend 2 weeks in the summertime on the farm. And I was a little kid, I'd say, I'm going to buy that farm one of these days. Well, we did. But what he would do, it would be a nice looking, by the way, from seed. He never believed in buying plants. He thought you need to have your own seed plants. And so he would tear off the limbs
Mhm.
Is that what you call them, the limbs?
Yeah, well, yeah,
I grew up in
just
Oxford. I'm
the little
sorry.
branches on
The little
yeah.
branches. So he'd tear them off, and I'd say, "Why don't you cut them off?" And he'd say, "No, they need those little tears there, because roots are going to sprout from
Mhm.
that."
Yeah.
And then it would look like he'd killed it. He would leave like maybe a couple of leaves on the top of it,
Mhm.
and then he would plant it kind of sideways, and then turn it this way. And he always had the best tomatoes.
Yeah, so one of the tomatoes really are an exception to the rule.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really big on people planting things correctly, especially trees and shrubs,
That's
because
why
my
I have him
landscape,
here.
my background's in landscape
Awesome.
design and landscape horticulture. But tomatoes are the one exception to the rule of planting too deep. You actually need to plant tomatoes too deep because they will develop what's called adventitious roots all up and down it. So the deeper you can get it, the more roots you can have. So, but that is the one exception to the rule. You can plant them too deep, and it's totally fine. So
Let's talk landscaping, because my yard looks terrible right now. I mean, I like it when it's green and it's like cool, warm outside, not so cold like it is now. We can still have a nice house landscaping.
Yeah,
right? What do we need to
absolutely.
do?
Well, one thing right now is you reminded me is one of the biggest things I get calls about every year is lawn burrweed. Now, I think we may have talked about this before, but really,
This big.
yeah. So right now is a great time to treat it. If you have lawn burrweed or stickers,
Because it hurts to walk barefoot in them things.
yeah. If we call them stickers here in Alabama. So if you have stickers in your lawn, right now's the time to treat them, because what happens if they develop that little burr on them, and you try to kill it once that burr is developed in the spring, it's still going to have the burr. It just makes it much harder, much faster. So if you have lawn burrweed, treat it with a broadleaf herbicide. So you can spray it on your lawn right now. It's totally fine. Something like 2,4-D. I always recommend a product called Trimec, which is a kind of a combination of 3 different chemicals. You can spray that on your lawn, and it will kill your lawn burrweed. So that's a great thing to do right now.
Well, it's not all over the entire yard. There's a little trail of it. Of course, the trail going from the back house to the beehives out there. And I know exactly where that trail is.
Yeah. Well, it's probably because you spread it when you walked on it.
Oh.
So that's usually what happens. It gets spread. You walk on it, and it takes over. Yeah, it takes over. It's a winter weed. It's a winter annual weed. So it's tough. It's tough to control.
We need to handle it now.
Yeah. Right now is a great time to control that. So just spray your 2,4-D, Trimec, any kind of broadleaf herbicide. You can put it on your lawn, and it will kill it. The best way to do it is with a pre-emergent herbicide. So you treat it before it even comes out. So like late September is a great time to do that. But since we're past that now, you can use that. So another thing you can do for your winter landscape is, pruning time's coming up. Now, I wouldn't prune right now. Don't do it right now.
We learned that.
Yeah. So the best thing to do is to wait until about February. Maybe January, but really into February, that's really when you want to start pruning your plants. Now,
you're talking to people all over the United States, so it would be really dependent on the zone.
Yeah. You may, if you're living up north, you may want to wait just a little bit later. But here in the South, we have a little rule of thumb that we use called the May rule. Have you ever heard of the May rule? So it's a little bit hard to remember, but I always think of azaleas. So the May rule is if it blooms before May 1st.
Okay.
So think of azaleas and spirea and all those plants. If it blooms before May 1st, prune it after it blooms.
Oh, okay.
So if you have like an azalea, I keep using azalea because it's the one that people think of that blooms out early in the spring. After the petals fall and it just kind of starts to fade, then you can prune it. And you have a couple of months window before it sets new buds. If you wait until August, September, and you prune it in August or September, you're not going to have any blooms the next year because it has what we call set. Yeah, it sets its blooms in the summertime. So if you cut them off, that's it. You won't have any more blooms. The second part of that May rule is if it blooms after May 1st, you prune it before you prune it before it blooms. So think I hate to use crepe myrtle because you shouldn't prune crepe myrtle at all. But
I'd be in trouble if I did that.
Yeah, so crepe myrtles they do bloom in the summertime. So if
Uh-huh.
you are gonna prune any, don't do it.
If
But
you
if
must,
you must, prune those in late winter.
Uh-huh.
So if it blooms before May 1st, prune it after it blooms. If it blooms after May 1st, prune it before it blooms. So that's the May rule. But yeah, that's generally for everything. The one thing that there's a couple of exceptions to that. Some things like hydrangeas. It really depends on the type of hydrangea. Now, I don't want to get into it because I'll mess it up. But there's different hydrangeas depending on what you have. You prune it at a different time.
Okay.
So that's the one exception to that.
Okay.
So
Does it also depend on where you, like acid, soil? Does it also depend on where you plant it?
Not necessarily. Not
Okay.
necessarily. That's the acid thing. That's only for the a type of hydrangeas. It will
Color.
change the color. Yeah, but it doesn't matter as far as that.
Mm-hmm.
And we're actually going to put on a pruning seminar, so that will be coming up this spring. We're going to do. I think we're going to do 2 of them. So we've got a lot of seminars coming up. We're going to do a pruning seminar. We're going to do a fruit pruning seminar.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be coming up, and we're probably going to do it in DeKalb County. So that'd be one to look out for you here. And then we've got an invasive plant workshop we're going to do. Down in Gadsden, we're going to do a tree walk on Arbor Day. So I'm going to walk around downtown Gadsden, and we're going to identify trees, or we're going to talk about why this tree's good for a street, or why it's not, or what's wrong with this tree, how to recognize problems.
You need to go to Noble Street in Anniston.
So
They planted trees that were actually covering the signs
Oh,
of their
yeah.
businesses. Yeah, you gotta be
yeah,
careful.
there's a lot of cities that do that. So.
Don't do that.
So, but yeah, we've got a lot of stuff happening this coming up year, and we have to plan a year in advance. So, my calendar is getting really, really filled up really quickly. So, there's one day I have 2 programs back to back, and it's going to be
That's gonna be tough.
tough.
Yeah, but you can do it.
Yeah, I can do it, but it's going to be
You can do
tough. So,
Yeah.
but we're
How about
looking
the
forward
Master
to it.
Gardener's class.
Yeah, so you're joining our Master Gardener class
I
this
can't wait! I'm
time.
so excited about
So
this.
she-
And, I had COVID, so I couldn't do it last year.
Yeah.
It was right during when I had COVID.
Well, and it's perfect because we're going to have it in DeKalb County in Fort Payne this time. Now, I'll let your listeners in on a little secret, if I can. If you want to register, you can still register until the 9th. So if you want,
You still have some time.
if you're here in the DeKalb County area and you want to take the Master Gardener class, you can go to aces.edu and search for Master Gardener, or you can email me. You can find my info on aces.edu, and we can get you registered. So
And I can
that's
shoot
that's
you
a
over
secret.
there too.
That's a secret. Don't tell everybody I said
Just
that.
for here.
So, but yeah, we'd love to have some more people sign up for the class. We got a few in there now, and I'm really excited about teaching it. And we're gonna have fun. We're gonna do some labs. I know you're looking forward to it. One of the highlights this past semester, we did an irrigation lab, and so we built an irrigation system.
Oh wow!
And I
I'm
showed them.
really interested in that.
Yeah, so I showed them, how to glue pipe together. A lot of people had never glued pipe together, so we're going to do that. We're going to program a controller. I'm going to show you how to program an irrigation controller. How to install everything. It's going to be fun. Going to show you how to prune properly. We're going to show you how to, how to spray properly. How to plant a tree and shrub properly. I mean, there's a lot of things we're going to learn. So you're going to learn how to identify diseases.
I've got the perfect person. If you have just moved into this area, and a lot of folks have moved in, we had a lot of growth here.
Yeah.
So, and no one. This would be a great way for
Yeah.
you to get into the community, because there are also volunteer programs that are
Yeah,
out
well,
there, but-
that's what the Master Gardener program is. It is a volunteer program, and we do, I have 4 different groups that I work with. So I have DeKalb, I have Etowah County, I have Cherokee County, and Marshall County. So all 4 of those groups are active, and, they all have different projects they work on. I know DeKalb County, they have they have a garden, and they grow all their vegetables, and they give those vegetables away. They have some other programs where they're working with schools and things like that. So it is a volunteer program. And so if you become a Master Gardener, we do expect you to volunteer. That's what it is. But it's also social. So you get to know a lot of people, like Donna said, you know.
The
It's
cream
just,
of the crop,
yeah,
actually.
yeah, no pun intended. Or maybe it is a pun intended.
I meant it to.
So yeah, it's a great program, and you'll have a lot of fun. And this DeKalb County group, they're a fun bunch. We had Christmas dinner there the other day, and we had a great time. So it's really fun. So I encourage anybody who wants to sign up. This is a great time to do it because it's going to be right here in Fort Payne, and you know, I'd love to have you. It'll be a fun time.
Yeah, it sure will.
Yep.
And this is what people are doing. You know, we're all concerned about, you know, the supply chain and those kinds of things. But the more you know how to do, the easier, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
How should we take care of seeds?
Well,
See that freezer here in my
yeah,
studio? It's full of seeds.
That's a great thing to do. And, you know, I wish more people would kind of get together and have seed club, I guess you would say.
That's what I was going to ask about.
Yeah, you know, I don't know of a whole lot of
love
people
a
that.
seed club.
Yeah, but you know, even with the Master Gardeners, you know, you could suggest, hey, let's start a seed bank. You know, a local seed bank,
Yeah.
and then you can all share seed. And when you have too many, you bring it to the seed bank, and you know, you keep it. It really depends on a lot. Putting them in the freezer is really good, but it really depends on what type it is. Most people will put it in a bag, make sure it's dry. So if you have any seed that you want to keep, make sure it's dried, and before you freeze it, that's essential. And then make sure it's in something like a paper bag. You don't want to put it in a plastic bag. Put it in a paper bag, and that will keep some of the moisture down. So
Yeah, 'cause that could be an enemy to that seed.
it could be, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I've got seeds in there. My granddad passed away in the year 2000. I still have some of his seeds,
Wow.
and they still
Yeah,
germinate.
they're still viable. Yeah, and you know that's
But he always kept them in the freezer.
yeah. I've had some that I kept in my refrigerator for, oh gosh, it was actually a tropical tree. I grew a mango, and
I've wondered about a mango. I love
yeah,
mango.
yeah. So
So you grew it here?
well, I grew it in a greenhouse.
Oh.
So yeah, it was it's a tropical plant. So we did grow it in a greenhouse, and I grew it from seed, and it it grew to probably 10 feet tall before we knew it. I
wow.
mean, it was a tree, and we had to we're like, okay, this is getting too big. We got to cut it down. But it produced some fruit, and we were really excited about it. I was excited about it. And no, it wasn't mango, it was papaya. It was,
I bet that was
yeah,
good
it was
too.
papaya. So, it's a big tree, and it was a beautiful tree. And I had some guys that were at the greenhouse when I worked at Auburn, and they would water it and fertilize it and stuff. And gosh, that thing went crazy. It was producing so many papaya. But it was fun. It was just something that's like, wow, it came from seed. I mean, it seed's like tiny, about the size of an eraser head. And,
It's just amazing. The
it
whole
is.
world of this.
It is, that's the way, that's what it was created to do is to reproduce and make seed, and each seed has its kind, and that's what that's how we ended up with it.
Well,
so
seed is life. I was talking with a
is.
financial guy who was on the show a few months ago, and I said, if you could have your choice of either gold or seeds, and we got into a depression in this country, which would you rather have? He said, I'm in the financial business, but seeds.
yeah. Well, that dollar doesn't mean anything if you can't buy any food. So
That's true.
so yeah, it's it's a good thing, and a lot of people keep heritage plants or heirloom plants, and that's a good thing, especially heirloom tomatoes. That's a really popular thing. So, but yeah, put them in a freezer or in a refrigerator. That's a great place to do that. So.
Yeah, and just keep them clean again. And my granddad always used. I hate it now that you don't get paper bags instead of plastic bags at the grocery store.
Yeah.
They used to say paper or plastic, and I go paper.
Yeah.
So using that gardening type stuff.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So there's a lot of different ways, and it really depends on the seed. There's some ideal conditions, but overall, just keeping them in the freezer is totally fine. So
now, what if someone doesn't have a greenhouse? That's my life. I'm either in the studio or the greenhouse. It's one of the two rooms that I frequent.
Yeah.
So what if you don't have a greenhouse? How soon can you get started with your seeds
Well,
for the summer?
it really just depends. If you don't have a greenhouse and you want to start seeds early, you can put them in a sunny window. You can do that. You can, put them outside and, again, go back to the milk jug. You can put a milk jug over that, create a moist, humid environment, keep it watered, and you'll probably be okay. So there's a lot of different techniques on there. YouTube is a great resource. I shouldn't say that as an extension agent, but I should say if you're interested in that kind
but
of
really
thing.
vet the person out, because I've
Yeah,
seen
that's
some weird
true.
stuff out there too.
Oh yeah, if you see something that says banana water, that's no good. Don't. Banana water's
Don't
a
go
joke.
there. Don't go there.
But yeah, aces.edu is our website. So if you have any questions, you can go to aces.edu. We have some grow guides on there. So all the part of our Grow More, Give More program. So that is a program that we came up with. Bethany O'Rear, she's in Jefferson County. She came up with that program during the pandemic, and her thing was grow an extra row and then give that row to someone in need. And so we call it Grow More, Give More.
That's
So
a great thing.
it's, if you have a little bit more land, or just grow one extra row and then donate that. And we've got a new website that's coming out, or maybe has come out by now, that will show you where to go in the state of Alabama where you can donate different things. So like if you have some produce, say squash, everybody has way too much squash. You can say, I got squash growing out my ears. I don't know what to do with it. You can take that squash and donate it in a site that's somewhere near your area, and then, that'd be a good thing. So, and we give it to, needy people, and that food bank will use that. So, so it's a great program.
Yeah, I love that program. I'm going to check that out. But you really go to the website, you'll also see zones. You'll see, because there's North Alabama and there's South Alabama.
Yeah, well, there's actually more than that, actually. So, Alabama runs from Zone 7A, which is essentially like Athens, a little bit over into, it's kind of a little bit weird. Even in DeKalb County, there's some 7A, I believe. And then 7B is like north central Alabama. Then you get into the 8A and 8B, and I think that's as far as it goes. It maybe it's a little bit of 9 in there.
You got Mentone, which is almost like being up north. If it snows anywhere in Alabama, it's going to be Mentone.
Yeah. So, here in the mountains of Alabama, it is going to be a little bit cooler. So, those hardiness zones are actually based on an average number of days below 50 degrees. So they, the zone is really based on that. So you really want to make sure that you're planting the right plant in the right area. So, but they can grow things down in Mobile area, Gulf Shores, and that area, Dothan, that we can't grow. But then again, we have things that they can't grow. So it kind of,
mountain tomatoes are the best ones, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Well, Slocum would probably argue with that.
Yeah,
So,
there's an argument there.
So Slocum tomatoes, they're famous for that. But there's a lot of things that we grow here in Alabama that kiwi, for example.
Oh, I wish I could grow some
For
kiwi.
our Australian friends, we actually grow kiwi here in Alabama.
Where at?
In Chilton County.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're growing them. They will actually grow pretty much anywhere in Alabama.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, then I got to try that.
Yeah. So now the one thing about it, they're a vine. So kiwi doesn't grow on a tree; it's a vine, and they are heavy. Yeah, they're very, very heavy. The vines are very thick, and basically what they do is they put power poles in the ground, and then they have a wire trellis that they run them on, and you just kind of walk under the wire trellis and you just pick them. So you kind of walk under there, and then you just look up straight, and there they are. So, but yeah, kiwi's a really there is a kiwi industry that we're trying to start here in Alabama. So it's interesting. We actually have maybe 4 varieties, 2 specifically that I know of. They're called golden kiwi. Have you ever heard of those? So they're yellow. They're not green. And they're not tart. They're very sweet.
Now that sounds like my kind of kiwi right there.
Yeah, they're very, very good. I've had some when they were doing some trials on it, and they're delicious. They're really good.
Oh, I'd like to grow some kiwi.
Yeah, but they're called AU Golden Sunshine and AU Golden Dragon. That's the two varieties. Now, if you go and buy it at the store, it probably wouldn't call it AU Golden Dragon, but that's the cultivar name. So, but if you ever see a golden kiwi, they're probably from Auburn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
Okay, yeah, we're going to dig in on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
So,
will. Let's talk bananas. And the
Okay.
reason I want to say that is, okay, I have banana trees growing all over.
Yeah.
They just started from one,
mhm.
and they're just spread everywhere. The only thing is they're pretty, and they grow tall and all this kind of stuff, but they're not fruiting. What am I doing wrong?
It's probably the variety it is. Now, there are some hardy varieties. I actually just learned this last week. We had a meeting on Friday, and there is one of our agents. He's on the urban horticulture side with Alabama A&M. He's in Calhoun County. And he grows bananas like crazy. I mean,
I had a friend who did.
yeah,
in Calhoun
he's got
County.
he is an agent, so you can contact him. But his name's Hayes Jackson, and Hayes knows a lot about plants. He's a plant genius, and but if you want to know about bananas, he's your guy. I mean, he has so many varieties that he's tried, and the I think it's Longwood Gardens. I think that's the name of the gardens there in Anniston. He manages that garden, and he's also an extension agent, and he's done a lot of trials on bananas, and there's a lot of hardy varieties. I didn't realize how many there were, but he has some that will actually fruit. So
that's what I want.
I don't know
Love
those.
nanners. They're
Yeah.
good for you.
So he
Peanut
has
butter and nanner sandwich.
Yeah.
You can't beat it.
Yeah, so he would be your contact for those. I would highly suggest that, because he can tell you specifically what will grow in North Alabama. Because you wouldn't think we couldn't grow bananas, but we can grow bananas in North Alabama. So
Well, I had one friend. He was a member of the Rotary Club, and he would bring us bananas to the meeting. And I said, "This blows my mind." He said, "I don't know why it's working." He said, "I guess I just happened to have planted it at the right place."
yeah. So, and they're basically a herbaceous plant. They're a non-woody plant, so they're going to die down every year. So cover them up. And
I don't
keep
want to
them.
cover them up. I want to get rid of these. I
So,
think they really
You're going to spray some Roundup on them, I guess.
That's the way I'm going to get rid of.
Yeah.
Which brings to mind, if there is something like one time I planted a mint. Mint.
Oh man.
Oh my goodness, I should have kept it in a container. It
Yeah.
was in a container and it got big, and I thought, well, I'm just going to plant it out here. Well, it took over everything. It
Yeah,
took me forever to get rid of that.
And depending on what type of planter you have, sometimes they will escape from the planter.
They'll
So,
just jump out
like
of it.
the old whiskey barrels, they'll grow through the cracks and they'll get out. So you got to be careful with those. So
It was chocolate mint. It was good.
yeah. It's mint's
But
a
not
great.
that much. I was giving it away.
If you think you can't grow a plant, try growing
Grow
mint.
mint.
Mint, you can't kill it. I mean, it's like kudzu. It's maybe worse than kudzu. So
One of my friends, Deja Lou, was at the house one day, and I said, "There's something that has come." And she's a gardener too. And she's from Mintown. I need to get her in that.
yeah,
gardener's
absolutely,
class. She'd be
absolutely.
Deja Lou, I know you're watching. So there was something that was right out here at the side, and I said, "This looks familiar. What is that?" And she said, "Oh my God, it's kudzu." She said, "Where's the shovel? I'm
Yeah.
getting it for you." Sometimes if it ever starts.
Yeah, it's tough.
Well, she got rid of it.
Yeah, you can control kudzu. There's some products out there that will kill it. I mean, you can control it. It you may have to treat
It's
it
like an
more.
unruly child.
It is. You have to just beat it back and beat it back and beat it back. So, but you can take care of kudzu. So,
You make jams and stuff out of it.
yeah.
But I could
It's-
never eat that much jam.
Yeah, no, I would recommend just getting rid of it and go buy some jelly or jams or something.
Let's go buy it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it is invasive, but so you have to watch out. There's a lot of plants like that are very invasive that we use a lot. Kudzu's not really one of them, but mint, for example, if you let it out, it's going to go crazy. Bamboo can be pretty, but there are certain varieties of it out there. Well, a lot of varieties actually that just go crazy, and you cannot contain it. So be really careful when you plant those plants. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Be careful. What about peanuts? My
yeah,
granddad used
peanuts.
to grow peanuts here.
Yeah, absolutely. My dad, he grew up in Fayette County, and he grew peanuts. So you can grow them. It really depends on your soil type. If you have a heavy clay soil, they just don't do very well, and that's why they grow them in Dothan, in that area down in the Wiregrass, it's called. You know, here's a fun fact for you. Did you know half of the peanuts grown in the U.S. are grown within 100 miles of Dothan?
Oh,
Yeah. So,
nice.
like all there's 4 different varieties of peanuts. So, what we grow here in Alabama is called a runner peanut. It's one that they use for peanut butter, or a lot of snacks use that kind of stuff, but mainly peanut butter. So all these peanut growers down there, it goes to Jeff and you know, Peter Pan and all these manufacturers of peanut butter. Then you have what's called the Virginia peanut. So guess where they grow those? Virginia. So they have that. Then you have the Spanish peanut, and then you have the Valencia. And the Valencias are really big. So I don't know where they grow them at. Probably out west. But the Valencia runner,
Probably Texas, wherever.
yeah, Texas and Arizona, they grow things like that. So, but sandy soils are ideal for that. You can grow peanuts here, but they're a really interesting plant. Peanuts actually, they do have a flower, but they flower below the canopy of the plant. So what happens, it forms the plant, and then that's called pegging. That's the process. It's called pegging. And those pegs come out, and they got a little yellow flower. And once they're fertilized, they actually turn down, and then they start digging into the soil. And so that's what actually grows the peanuts. So once those pegs are fertilized, they kind of droop down, and then they start digging into the ground. That's why sandy soils are better, because it grows much easier in those sandy soils.
Well, this is clay here, and but I remember Granddad. Oh, and I remember him digging them up. You know, almost like potatoes or something like that. So he always had pretty good luck, but now he uses a lot of cow manure. I don't know if that.
Well, peanuts like calcium. So you know, if you have a source of calcium like gypsum, that's a good source of calcium. But you know, they're not a nut. They are a legume, so they create their own nitrogen, right? So, but if you have a hard soil with clay, you might get some peanuts, but it's better if you could grow it in some kind of sandy or at least a loamy type soil. They just will grow better. You'll have much bigger peanuts.
He used to water down hydrogen peroxide, and he would water it down and feed it to them.
I don't know. I'm not a peanut expert. I just know about that much of how peanuts grow.
We sure did love that peanut brittle my grandmother would make. That
I'm
stuff.
sure.
It was super, super good.
Yeah.
Less than 2 minutes. Can you believe how time flies?
It does.
Just like
it does.
It's gone.
Sure.
Why do you want to tell everybody before we go?
Well, just be on the watch out for our programs that are coming out this coming year in 2023. Like I said, we've got a lot of pruning programs going on, proper planning. We've got, just a lot of stuff. But if you're interested in any of our programs, Master Gardener program, you can contact me. My email address is brownbw@auburn.edu, or you can go to our website, ACES.edu, and there's a lot of topics you can look up. You can find my contact information. But we'd love to have you at some of our programs. Facebook is a great way to learn what's happening in your particular county. So if you're in North Alabama, look for, DeKalb County Extension or Marshall County Extension, or insert your county extension. And usually I think all of our 67 counties in Alabama has a Facebook page. And they're really good about posting what's happening in your county. It may not be plant related. It may be cattle related, or it may be sheep or goats, or healthy living, healthy eating. It may be financial planning. So extension,
Farmers market.
Farmers market. There's a lot of different things out there that extension does. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact us, and we'll be glad to help you out.
You know what? I went through YouTube and I found some old videos.
Oh yeah,
you guys, and those rules still apply. I mean, they're still with it. Oh, we got to hurry up and go. 13 seconds. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being on the show.
Absolutely.
Favorite guest right here. Thank you guys, and we'll look forward to seeing you a little bit later.